Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing some 6x6 example solves with the Hoya method. These will all be hand scrambles and I'm only going to do cross edges in this video. I'm also only going to be solving on white for clarity, so I hope this helps and that you can learn something from them. Okay, so here's the first solve, and there are a couple of different ways that you can approach solving your cross edges on 6x6, and both of these ideas are about reducing to solving edges like you would on a smaller puzzle like 4x4 or 5x5. And so what I mean by that is you can either pair up an outer wing and an inner wing together, and then the other outer wing and the inner wing together, and then treat them both like a 4x4 cross edge. Or you could pair up both of the inner wings and then solve this block and both of the outer wings together like you would on a 5x5. And I think it's a good idea to have quite a flexible approach to this. You should be able to do both depending on which case comes up, because as you can see here, we've already got this one block which is an inner wing and an outer wing, so we definitely want to preserve that. And so something we can notice here is that if we solve this edge with an F prime, then this block is in not a bad position to be solved with an insertion down here. But before that, if we notice that this piece is also here, when we do the F move, it's going to come down here. And if we can avoid having to do a solution like this twice, then we should, and we can. So we can do a U prime move first to bring it to the side, then the F move, and then we can insert this piece in 3 moves, just like that. And then now we can insert these like that. And there are a couple of shorter solutions. There are 6 or 5 move alternatives if you prefer, but that's the one I find fastest. So next up, what I saw while I was doing that were these 2 red pieces. And if we bring them to the front, we can see that we've got the inner wing and an outer wing paired up, but they're flipped. So we can't really use this in the same way that we used the last edge case that we had. So what I'm going to try and do this time is look for the other inner wing first and see if we can pair this up with that. And it's back here. So what I would probably do here is, before we move blue to the side, I will put this edge over here, and then because I notice this one's oriented, I'm going to bring it up opposite it in the U layer, so that now if we move blue to the side, we can pair these up in a slice move like that, or like this. And this is quite important because, generally speaking, if you want to pair 2 inner wings together, it's not always necessarily the best idea to sort of insert those 2 paired pieces into the D layer straight away. Because I think in my experience, the cases that you're going to get on 5x5 afterwards, the equivalent cases where you've got the 2 outer wings unsolved, are not as good overall as the cases that you would have if you had one wing solved and then a midge and the other wing solved, or in this case, these 2 inner wings paired together unsolved. So what that means basically is, in a scenario like this, you could do something like this 4 mover to insert them, which is not bad. But something I would prefer in this case is to just pair them in the U layer by doing something like this. Because now this case is going to probably end up being better than the case we would have got otherwise. So as we can see, the last red wing is back here. So I'm going to solve it in the D layer like that. And now I just have this case. From this angle, you can do it like this. We can insert that edge with like a wide M move and then cancel into inserting the red wing from the back. Okay, so the next thing I noticed, we have this orange block in the back and the other 2 pieces are here and here. And again, we can use this to pair pieces in the U layer. So firstly, we're going to want to do the inner wing. So if we put it up here in the U layer, this is misoriented and this block is oriented, which means they can be paired in one slice. Now here, we could either do a U or a U prime, and we don't want to do a U prime because that's going to put this in not a very good position. So we'll do a U and keep it in the U layer. And now, pretty much a similar idea, we could do exactly the same thing here if we wanted. We can set them up in opposite orientations and pair them like that. And again, because I know red is here, then I know orange needs to go here, so I'm going to do a U move and then just insert it straight in to the right with an R2. Now we have our last edge, and our pieces are here, 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 and here. And this is a pretty good general rule to follow. If you have 2 pieces that belong in the same edge that are in the same slot but flipped, then it's easier, especially if one's an inner wing and one's an outer wing, is almost always easier to solve both of the inner wings first and then just deal with the outer wings afterwards. And so the way we can do that here, we can bring this down and then do an F prime to put it there. And then before we do the L prime, we're going to move this over to here so that it's set up for a 3-move insertion, like that. And now for our outer wings, we have this case, which you can do in a couple of different ways, but the way I like is to sledge this piece in, like that, and that turns this into a 4-mover as well. Okay, so next up, there's a few different things here. What I can see first of all is these two green inner wings and this outer wing, and by looking around I know the other one is here. And this is not an amazing case, but there is a nice way that you can solve the pieces one at a time but influence them to make sure that all of them are relatively still efficient. And so the way to do that is we can solve this wing first, like that, and then instead of inserting this in the normal way, what we can do is we can sledge this, and that is going to flip this piece so that it's going to end up here and it's going to become a 3-mover, which will be really nice. So do the sledge like that, and then we can insert this. And then none of that at all has affected this piece, so we can just do one move to bring it down and then insert it just like that. So next up I can see a lot of red pieces. We've got these two and this one here, so I'm going to put green to this side so that red can be on the front. And these two pieces are not very good relative to each other, but we also have this one that we can use. And so what I'm going to do is a similar sort of idea to the last example, where I'm going to solve these two pieces and try and influence this one into a better case while I'm doing it. So I can do an F move to start, and obviously this is not in a very good place, but what I can do here is R prime F2 R, like that, and now these two are in a much better position. I can just do another F move and then this becomes a 3-mover. And the last piece is back here, and this is just a 5-mover, so we can do a 1-move setup, insert in 3 moves, and then undo the setup because we have this edge. So what I see next is these two orange pieces, and although they're flipped and in the same slot, if they were next to each other, then it would be a bad case, because if we solved both of them together, then there would be a slice gap and we'd have to use extra slice moves, which we don't want to do. But because if we flipped this piece, it'll end up here, those two edges will be directly next to each other and make a block. So we can solve these two first if we want to. And there's a nice way of doing that. So if we put red to the back so that orange is on the front, we can insert this piece and then cancel into inserting this piece by doing that. And that makes the block here. And now we can see we've got this orange piece here as well. And it might be tempting, because you can see you've got two blue pieces either side, to just use a slice move to insert it to preserve this. But that does require an inner slice move, and it also means that when we solve these next, the piece that needs to go in between them will also require a slice move. So it's actually not that ideal. So what we can do instead is just insert this piece normally, and that'll insert this piece with it. But what we know is, because we haven't got a piece solved here, whenever we insert the piece that needs to go next here, the orange one, that'll take this out, and then it will still be quite easy to insert later. And that saves you 2 lots of inner slice moves, which is always good. So I'm just going to insert that piece like that. And then the final piece is back here. So I'm just going to do an L2 to set up to this 3-mover, then insert it, and then undo the L2. And actually that was a bit unlucky because we accidentally made this block again, but it doesn't matter because we've got this piece here, which we can solve just like that. And then we can insert both of these together like that. And the last piece is back here. And this is a very bad case anyway. But the best way to solve it is by doing a slice move to slice the spot up back to the U layer like this, and then setting up the piece there, and then slicing back down. And so we did have to use some slice moves there, but it wasn't as many as we otherwise would have done. Okay, so this is the next scramble. I can see a few things here. I can see a couple of blue pieces. I can see this one as well. And I've got this green block, and I know there's another green piece down here. I am probably going to do green first because it is relatively difficult to preserve these blocks, especially when the other pieces you see are all in separate slots. So I'm just going to bring this to the front and insert this block in 3 moves. And this does force some slice moves to solve this. but given that we've only taken 4 moves so far to solve 3 pieces, I think that's fine. The other piece is here, and instead of just doing like an R2 to bring it to the U layer, that will make it oriented. So what we can do instead is something like F, R, F prime, because that then makes it misoriented, so it's much nicer to insert like that. And I can still see a few blue pieces, so I'm going to do blue next. We've got this one, we've got this one, and we've got this one. I can't see the other one immediately, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do a D2. I'm going to solve this piece first, and actually here's our other one, so that's useful to know. And then what I notice is that this piece is going to be on the far left, and then this is the left-hand inner wing. So I'm going to definitely solve those two first to make a block, so then we don't have to use slice moves after that. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to insert this to here. I can see that this piece is now here, and the other piece is here. And so a nice way to solve these is, instead of just bringing this up and then inserting it with 3 moves, because that will flip this edge like that, then what we can do instead is bring this up and insert this piece first and then cancel into inserting this one like that. And so as I was doing that, I saw these 3 orange pieces here, and this one is flipped, so this will be an interesting case. I also see this block of red pieces here. So what I'm going to do, because this is not correctly aligned relative to blue, I'm going to do that first, because, you know, having these 2 pieces already solved would be really nice. So I'm just going to do that. And now I'm going to move on to the orange, because this is a trickier case. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to imagine that this piece is also solved relative to this one. So I'm going to imagine we've got all 4 pieces here, and it's just the 2 outer wings that are going to need flipping. So what I can do here is a flipped edge algorithm, which is really nice, and it will leave us with just 1 piece unsolved. And the way that you start this algorithm is you want this edge in the back, and you want the outer wings to be misoriented. So currently it's in the wrong orientation, so we need to fix that. So what I can do, because I may well have seen that we've got 2 white pieces here and we want to bring those out of the back slot, to flip this, I'm going to do, because we've got nothing here, I'm going to do an R prime, and then a D prime, and then an F prime. So now orange is going into the front, and we've got these pieces here that we can solve. And so to solve these, I'm going to do U2, R wide, U2, R wide 2, F2, R wide, like that. So that's a really nice algorithm. It's quite short, and it's solved all 3 of these pieces. Our last one's here. And again, there are a couple of ways we can do this. We could just bring it straight to the U layer like that, and then insert it with a slice move. We could do 1 move to set it up and then insert with a slice move. But those are slightly awkward. And there's actually a 6 move solution that I like a lot. So what we can do is we can insert just this piece relative to this one, completely ignoring these. And they will get taken out and they'll put in the U layer. But once we've done that, they'll still just be a natural 3 mover. So the full solution for this case, for this piece to here, we can do 4R wide, U, 4R wide prime, 3R wide, U prime, 3R wide prime. That's quite nice. And as I'm doing that, I see this piece and this piece. So we bring red to the front, we've got this. We can insert this straight away, but it leaves this one still oriented, which isn't amazing. You could do something from this angle. From specifically here, what I would probably do is set them up opposite to each other, like this. And so now we've got a 4 mover. We've got just F2, 4R wide, U2, 4R wide prime. Okay, I'll do one more. So we've got here, I can see a few things. I can see a couple of green pieces here, here, and here. I can see these 2 orange, and I can see this red piece, this red piece, and this red piece. And I'll probably go for red first, because I can see a really nice way to insert this here with just 3 moves, and that makes a block, so that's nice. And I can see this piece that's here, and I'm going to leave it here because we don't want to insert it first, because that will leave us needing to do a slice move definitely for whatever piece needs to go here. And normally, however we insert the other inner wing, it's not going to affect this, and this will always be 1 move set up to a 3 mover. So I'm going to look for the other piece first, and I can see it here, and it's in the back, and it's oriented, which is normally not great, but because we've got no solved pieces here, I can just do a B move like that, and then I can insert it into the front. And now we've got this last piece here, which is a 3 mover, just like that. So I'm going to do green next because I can see this piece and this piece and this piece, and I know that these two need to go next to each other, so I'm going to solve this one first, like that. Then I'm going to insert this. Then our other inner wing is here, and again, because we've got a couple of empty slots here, we've got some relatively easy ways to misorient this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put it in the back like this and set up to do a B move. But before I do that B move, I'm going to move this out of the way so it doesn't get affected by it. So I'm going to do a U prime and then a B like that. Then I'm going to insert this piece into the front. This piece is going to end up here and it's still going to be a 3 mover. Like that. I am probably going to do orange next because I can see this piece and I can see this piece, and there's this one here as well, and actually the other one's here, and none of them look very good at this point in time, but we can very easily pair a lot of them in the U layer and save ourselves quite a few moves by doing that. So I'm going to solve this wing first, and then instead of inserting this one straight away like I did for the first edge, because that will put this here, which isn't great, what I'm going to do firstly is just pair these two up directly in the U layer like that. And so now we've got these two pieces in the back and we've got this piece as well, and they're both oriented, which isn't great. And so something you don't want to do here is the same thing we did just now, which is pairing them in the U layer. And the reason why is because firstly, to pair these two, you need an inner slice move, which isn't very good. And secondly, because when you do that, the pieces are still oriented, so they're not actually that good of a case. So what we want to do instead is treat this like a 5x5 last cross edge case. We've got this effectively a midge now, and we've got this wing, and then this wing is solved. And the way you can solve this case is by putting the pieces here and then doing a sledge. And so now we're set up to this trigger where we can do, on a 6x6, we can do 4R wide U2, 4R wide prime. So onto our last cross edge now, and looking at blue, we've got these two pieces which are flipped in the same slot. We've got this piece, and around the back we have this piece. What I don't want to do here is solve a wing and then end up with this, because this is not actually a very nice case to deal with. If I'd noticed exactly where the other blue piece was, the fact that it's here, then I'm definitely going to solve that first. Because if we look here, this piece, if we imagine just inserting this on its own, is a 3 mover. So if we can solve this piece first, then we can solve both the inner wings without using any slice moves, which is really nice. And now we have this case, these two are last pieces. There are a couple of ways again you can do this. You can insert this from this angle with an inner slice move, and then that'll flip this. Or what I prefer to do is, again, set up to the same trigger as before. This time we can do F prime, U, F prime. And now we have this piece and this piece. And then we can insert them just like that. So there you go. I hope you found that helpful. I'm definitely going to do some more of these. And in terms of things like setting up to 5x5 last cross edge cases, or even 4x4 cases, I haven't done that much in-depth sort of exploration of these techniques, so I think there's definitely a lot of potential here, but it may well be the case that a lot of the stuff I do still wasn't super efficient. So I'm not going to say that these are like super advanced level. They're definitely intermediate to advanced level, so I hope you could learn a lot from this, and yeah, stay tuned for some more example solves. Thanks for watching.